Independence Cake is a fictional book, a made-up story, though it is based about a real person who once was alive, Amelia Simmons. But because there is very little known about her, the author who wrote the book used their imagination to create the story about Amelia. What we do know about Amelia Simmons is that she wrote a cookbook in 1796 and published it in Hartford, Connecticut. Now, this is a mouthful. Are you ready for this title? It was called American Cookery, the Art of Dressing Viands, Fish, Poultry, and Vegetables, and the Best Modes of Making Pasties, Puffs, Tarts, Puddings, Custards, and Preserves, and all kinds of cakes, from the imperial plum to the plain cake, adapted to this country and all grades of life. What we also know about Amelia comes from the introduction she wrote to her cookbook, which states that she was an orphan and that she worked for wealthier families as a cook and a domestic servant who is basically someone who helps run the house doing chores and errands. But that's all we know. Amelia's cookbook was also very important for several reasons. One, it was the first published in this colony, or in America. All the others that had been used in America up until this time were ones that were brought over from England. Also, she used American ingredients, like Indian meal, which is basically cornmeal, and pumpkins, native fruits and vegetables, or vegetables that are grown in this area. And she also is a woman, publishing her own cookbook. And in addition to that, she also introduces some great kitchen science. She uses something called potash, which is basically made from burning up hardwood. And what you're left over is you combine it with water and different things like this. Is a chemical reaction that leaves a nice fine powder, almost like what we use as baking soda. But before they had baking soda, they would use potash. So she introduced this idea of using that, which would help be a leavener or help raise your breads and cake up, like I said, like baking soda does today. So that's why her cookbook was so important. But the bigger question is, why do we know so little about her? Where do we learn about people from the past? Usually we learn about people from the past from records of their birth or their death, which are called vital records, or records that are kept in regards to property, deeds, and records of the homes and the items that they owned, or from people's wills. When people pass away, there's documents that are written that they write before they pass away, saying who they want to get their items. And once they pass away, people come in and kind of take an assessment of what they had. So there's all of these documents that we can learn from in the past. The letters and diaries that people wrote, and newspaper clippings and things like that. Now, whose records and whose stories were kept and written down were not always the same. Not everyone received the same treatment. The stories and information about women and children, people of color, those who were poor and those who were enslaved, were not often recorded or recorded as carefully and thoroughly. These people had less or even no rights under the law and rarely could not own property, or often were not given the opportunity to learn and read and write or to own property. All of these things create this effect where their stories and their information are not recorded. So when you go back in history and you look at all of the wonderful, famous things that have happened and wonderful things, those people that we hear about generally tend to be men, white men who tend to have some money. Those are the people whose stories were recorded the most. So for today's activity, I challenge you to illustrate or record, write the story of a woman in your family. The woman can be alive or she can be past, but it is your job to share her story. Ask your parents, ask your relatives, talk to them about a great woman in your family. Do some research. Not only ask your family members about their story, but look up that woman online. If she's still alive, call her. There are great resources on the internet that you can use for family research. You can find vital records, and most public libraries have access to Ancestry.com. And during all of this with the coronavirus, many are allowing you to access Ancestry at home. Call up your public library and ask for that password, and you can do some great research about your family members. See what records are kept about the women in your family, and help share their story. The more you share the story, the less likely that their story will be lost to history like Amelia's was.